Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala amma ba'd. Welcome to today's session. I wanted to tell you guys, well, the answer to the riddle is the more you take of me, the more you leave behind. What am I? The answer is footsteps. The answer is footsteps. The more you take of me, the more you leave behind. What am I? And the answer is footsteps. And before we begin as well, I wanted to remind you guys we're doing it's a mental health summit, and we planned this before all of this took place. All of these fun things in 2020 took place, and because of what's happened in the past, like 10 days, 2 weeks, 1 month, we have changed the program so that every topic is focused directly on the mental health related to the situation that you're in now. So if you'd like to register for that, we have opened up registration. So anybody you can pay whatever you want for registration. So you want to come for free, you want to pay whatever you want, it's open. And the link is discoveru.online for the Time to Thrive Summit. So pay attention to that one. We got an amazing lineup of mental health experts that are going to be dealing with the topic of time to thrive. And we've been preparing for it for a while now. All right. So having said that, today I'm actually going to talk about something related to mental health. So it was a long time ago when I was a little kid. And somebody asked me this question. They said, what is your parents' phone number? What's your dad's phone number? What's your mom's phone number? And I said to them, I don't know. So they immediately assumed that I'm like the worst son in the world because I didn't know the number to my parents' phone number. Now, this is very common nowadays because everybody's got contact lists and nobody memorized the numbers. In fact, if you ask me, what is my number? What is my phone number? I might also tell you, I don't know, because I don't keep it in my mind. I keep my mind blank. You know those suitcases back in the day? Maybe you still have these kind of suitcases where you try stuffing things into it, and then you have somebody sit on the suitcase and try to push it down so that you can close it. Unfortunately, we try doing that with our brains. We try, and nowadays when we're at home and you'll hear people say things like, I have a lot on my plate. There's a lot on my mind. Now, I want to help you with that here right now, inshallah ta'ala. The problem is the mind isn't the best location for storage. It's not a suitcase that you just stuff with information, phone numbers and this and that and this anxiety and future and past and present, and everything's just going in your mind. In fact, if you ask about, this is what I do when somebody's feeling overwhelmed, I'll tell them something like, write 20 things that are on your mind right now. Write 20 things, write it down, 20 things that are on your mind right now. And you'll find that this person might only be able to think of about 7 things if they pushed it. So the overwhelm that they're feeling isn't necessarily that they've got a million things on their mind, even though they might say, I've got a million things on my mind. In fact, as it said, once you pass 4 things on your mind, your brain goes into overwhelm. So for example, if you're giving a speech, and I tell this to Al-Maghrib instructors, and people are giving khutbahs, I'm doing like khutbah training, I'll tell them that if you ever make a bullet list of, you're giving a speech and you give a bullet list, 1, 2, 3, 4. I tell the Shaykh, whoever's going to give the speech, once you pass 3 things, nobody will remember after that. They will get overwhelmed. And when asked afterwards about the khutbah, the speech, they will say, it was a good speech, mashallah, but I don't remember anything. Because the mind goes into overwhelm. So when I make my list, sometimes I just like to make it 2 things. And I'm like, good luck if you remember the 2 things. 2 things, 3 things, that's it. Once it hits 4 or above, it goes into overwhelm. So if anybody gives a speech like, these are the 12 habits, or these are the 7 things, or these are the 14 things, and as soon as it goes into those kind of numbers, we all know mine's going to go into overwhelm. It sounds good, like it's a nice list, but nobody's going to remember that because we get into overwhelm. So how do you deal with that? If your mind's going to overwhelm, you're at home, there's a lot of things on your mind. How do you get over that kind of overwhelm in your brain? I'm going to give you 3 techniques on how to deal with it, inshallah ta'ala. Number 1, the first technique is, so actually all of these are related to journaling. All of these are related to journaling. I've been a fan of journaling for like my whole life, probably a good 20 years. And I journal all the time and consistently in big moments in my life, big turning moments in my life. The journal always had something to do with it. And so I'm going to give you some techniques on how to use a journal to clear out your mind so that you can like just walk around smiling at your family members, because there's nothing on your mind other than being present with the person in front of you, knowing that, hey, whatever was on my mind is in its correct location. So the first technique that I would give you, actually, you know what, this isn't even in my list, but I'll share it with you anyway, is you open up a note on your phone, and then you'll say something like, what are the top 2 things that I need to get done today? What are the top 2 things that I need to get done today? These top 2 things, if I get them done, it's been a productive day. It's been a productive day. I get these 2 things done, it's been a productive day, done deal. And then I have a list underneath that says, if I have more time, here are some other things that I might want to take care of. And I have another list underneath there, appointments, if there's things that are time-based. So these top 2 things to get done each day, I just enter the day with like, what are the top 2 things I need to get done? What are the top, and I keep focusing on it. As throughout the day, you're saying, what should I work on? I keep going back to what are the top 2 things that I need to get done today? And then it may seem like I'm productive, even though somebody says, hey, Muhammad, you're pretty lazy. I get things done because I'm just focusing on the priority. So that's one way to get through, instead of going through a list of 12 things, to-do list, and I have to do this, I have to do that. What are the top 2 things that you need to get done? Next thing is, when your mind goes into overwhelm, write it down in point form. So if you've ever been awake at night and your mind is just circling about, what about the economy? What's going to happen in the future? What about the rent? What about this? What about that? And your mind keeps going. You don't have to journal at that time. You don't have to journal, but what you can do is make a bullet list of everything that's on your mind. So you'll say, hey, I'm worried about the economy. Tomorrow I have to wash the laundry. I have to, I have that workout that I need to be doing, all those Instagram workouts that everybody talks about. And then you keep doing that. You just make a list. Don't go into any detail about it. Just make the list. And hey, try to get 20 things. You probably won't get 20 things, which is fine. That reassures you that you don't have a million things on your mind. You actually maybe have 7 things or 12 things or whatever, but just make a point form list and then tell yourself, your mind, you don't even have to tell yourself, your mind will go to sleep after that, because you're like, you know what, I've written it down. It is somewhere. I don't have to have it in my head. I can refer to this tomorrow when I need to, and you'll find yourself drifting to sleep. So that's one way to get the emotions out, get it off your mind, get it onto paper. The other thing that I'd recommend, another way of journaling, is 750 words. There's actually websites about journaling 750 words every day. If you really, especially if you're in those, that time of your life, or maybe it's like midlife crisis, or there's a lot of emotions going on in your mind. This is my right hand. When there's a lot of emotions going through your mind, you can do this activity, 750 words. This is for a lot of the introverts, a lot of the people that are really in their head. Every day, write out 750 words, and this is freestyle. This is freestyle writing where you're asking and answering questions. So I'll open my journal and I write on my phone. I use the app Day One for journaling. You can do it on anything, on notes, but Day One is nice. And then I'll start saying to myself, hey, what's on your mind, Muhammad? Well, these are 3 things that are on my mind. I start writing it down. And then I'll say, well, tell me more about it. Hey, you know what? I just have a series of asking back and forth. I might write about 500 words and feel like, hey, that's it, I want to stop. But I said, no, I'll push to 750. And 750, it gets past the shallow phase, just the tip of the iceberg stuff, and helps you get to the things that really matter. And you'll find it's just such a mental relief and such an emotional relief to get it out on paper. I'll give you some tips for the 750 words. From my experience, it takes about 18 minutes to write 750 words. And the other thing I would recommend with 750 words is to, you could also dictate it. So on your phone, you can just turn the microphone on and text dictate your journaling. So that, and it'll go faster. Then you can do it like in 11 minutes or something like that. 750 words every day. Another activity, a third one, this will be the final thing that I'd recommend for you guys, inshallah ta'ala. And that is, there are different journaling things where you're trying to find the root cause of something. Because if you deal with the root cause, sometimes just knowing what the root cause, what you're really afraid of, can resolve the issue. And if you don't know the root cause, then sometimes you're dealing with one thing, like maybe there's a family member, like a child that's screaming, and the issue isn't the child screaming. You've heard the child screaming before. The issue is maybe you're afraid for the future, for example, or you're afraid something else. So if you just figure out what's really bothering you, it can help. So there are some activities that take you to the root problem, yeah? And then there are other activities that, not the root problem, but they follow your fears, so that you can see, hey, it doesn't lead to something that you're afraid of. So I want to share the second example, not how to get to the root cause, but rather how to go to the next level. So this is the so what activity. So you write down something that you're afraid of. So I'm afraid that next month I won't be able to pay the rent. Then you do this like 5 levels. You put, so what? Then what will happen? Okay, so what will happen if I don't pay the rent? Then, landlord's going to send me a message saying, hey, you better pay the rent. Okay, great. So what? Then what will happen? Okay, if he sends me this message, I'll tell him, hey, you know what? I have a loss of income due to the coronavirus. And that's what I'll respond. And then you say, okay, so what? Then what will happen? Then you say to yourself, okay, if I tell him that, he's either going to reject it or he might give me some facilitations. Let's suppose he doesn't give me facilitation. Okay, so what? Then what will happen? Then what will happen is he can't do anything about it because, this is the situation that I'm in. So what? Then what will happen? Nothing. Inshallah ta'ala, things will, the sun will rise on another day. Inshallah ta'ala, everything will work out and then I'll be able to pay my landlord back and pay my rent. Done deal. Yes? So what? Then what will happen? You do it 5 levels. So when you're starting to feel a little anxious about something, so what? Then what will happen to 5 levels? And inshallah ta'ala, it'll move you out of just circling or looping around one scenario. And that's why it's so essential to get this down on paper, mental health wise. Get it out on paper, get it out of your brain. Your brain should always be like empty, just flowing, so that sometimes people come up to me and they go, you know what, Muhammad, I know you're really busy and you have a lot on your mind. And this is my response to them. I'm like, I'm not busy. I don't have anything on my mind, to be honest. To be honest, that's such a British thing. And why is there nothing on my mind? It's just like I said at the beginning here with the phone number. I don't memorize any phone numbers. I don't have anything on my mind. I don't join any WhatsApp groups. And a lot of people are getting offended by this, but I'm like, I don't want to be constantly my mind entering a discussion every like 30 seconds. My mind entering a discussion, I'd like to keep my brain just free. And I would like to keep my emotions just free. So that when an opportunity comes where I do want to pay attention, or I do want to give some focus and I do want to give time to something, I have the time and I have the mental energy to do those things, inshallah ta'ala. All right, so I would like to give you guys a little task. You can do this in the text of the Facebook Live, or if you'd like to write it on paper, write down 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now. 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now, and let's see how it feels after you get that down. So what are 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now? You can write it in the text here, or if you'd like to write it in your notes, let's take like 1 minute or 2 minutes to do it. Write down 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now. I will do it as well. How about that? I'll do my own. 5 to 10 things are on my mind right now. First thing is the Time to Thrive Summit. I've got a lecture that I'm going to be doing. 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now. You know what the problem is? If you only listen to lectures, I know there's a lot of Facebook Lives, everybody's doing stuff these days, but if you're just listening, it goes out one ear, comes out, some stuff sticks, most of it doesn't, but you're going to benefit more when you do the activity, and you'll feel it from the activity. So 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now. 5 to 10 things that are on your mind right now. Write it down and then see how you feel after you've written it down. What's interesting is if you can't get 5 to 10 things, if you get like 3 things or 4 things, and you're like, look, I can't even get to 10, good for you. Then you know that you benefited because you think you're overwhelmed, but you can't even think of 10 things. All right, great. If you did the activity, how was it? You've written it down. Now, how do you feel? How do you feel compared to this was in your head versus written down? I'd like to hear your feedback on that. How does it feel having this in your head versus having it written down? Aisha says, I got 3, push it to 7. Patricia says, I still feel overwhelmed. Keep writing then, Patricia. If you've got only like 5 things. And Aisha says, made me feel like I'm worried about crayons. Rahila says, I'm thinking about it now more because it's out there. And if it's out there, Rahila, you know, like they say about gas, better out than in. If you're keeping all that toxic gas in your body, it'll mess you up inside. Okay, some people are saying lighter. Zahra is saying she feels relaxed. I'm happy that I wrote it down. Now I can deal with it. Like, not deal with it, but I'm like, you know, you don't even have to deal with it. You're just like, hey, it's written down. And as Matt says, I feel this is not as much as I thought. Alhamdulillah. Great. That's what I wanted you to experience. And you wouldn't have experienced this if you had just heard me and then I ended this Facebook Live and we'd be like, khalas. And Yamama says, my problems are not as bad since it's all house stuff. Alhamdulillah. And Mi'raj is saying, none of it is in my control. Really, I have this habit of doing my best. It's pure Allah's will, the results. And alhamdulillah, that's also, if you write things down that are not in your control, that's another thing to pay attention to, by the way. If you've written things down, did you write things down that are in your control? Or did you write things down that are out of your control? And if they're out of your control, then why are they on your list? All right, folks, that's it for today's Facebook Live. Jazakallah khairan. The Time to Thrive Summit is about mental health. Everybody that we're bringing on this thing, we brought them from before. This is an event that we have switched up, so it deals with all the issues that we're dealing with now. We got Sister Dali Mujahid, myself, Shaykh Yahya Ibrahim, Sister Minna, there's Brother Walid, Sheikh Walid, we've got Sheikh Mikael, and amazing sister presenters as well, inshallah ta'ala. Each topic is going to be dealing with mental health related to the situation that we're in. And inshallah ta'ala, I'd love for you to attend. We've opened it up. So even though the ticket prices were so low, you can pay whatever you want to attend it. You can pay whatever you want to attend, to buy your tickets for whatever price. Doesn't matter. We'd love to have you come, inshallah ta'ala, and let's benefit. The link is discoveryou.online. And we are done, folks. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.